Hi, everyone. It's Cindy from Dear Mom Reads and Writes, and I'm still alive. Hooray! It has been a while. I hope that you are doing well. Love to hear all about it. I think it was just after New Year's that I last made a video, and I apologize for that. Um, Life is busy, but honestly, felt like a long winter, an unexpected winter here in North Carolina. I'm a northern girl, and we had a very cold winter here. I'm in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, like teens at night. It went on for weeks. And then February, we had an ice storm. And then we had a blizzard. Well, not a blizzard, but 18 inches of snow, like crazy. It hasn't happened here for years. I don't remember how many. Anyway, so that was February. I don't know. It's just been so busy. I've done a lot of reading. I'm going to kind of go through some of the books. I read a lot. I'm borrowing a term from a book I read, actually. I was wintering. I was just kind of inward, just reading and, going to work at the library, but reading a lot, and just felt like I needed some quiet time when I wasn't working. I also started a writing group, which is great. So I feel like I'm emerging from the cocoon of winter. And I hope you're doing very well. What else? If you're new here, welcome, and welcome back if you've been here before. Because of my schedule, there's no way doing a weekly or even bi-weekly video series is possible, but this is enjoyable to me. And when I do it, I don't want it to be like a rush and I have to. And so here we are. Anyway, it's April, and pollen and flowers are everywhere here in North Carolina. Hay fever, all that stuff. But it is really lovely out. The weather's like crazy. It'll be in the 50s and 30s at night. And then today it's like 82. Goes up and down. I don't know. Maybe it does that everywhere now. Anyway, enough babbling. I'm going to get into the book. So I read a lot. There's still a lot here I don't like to make these videos too long. I don't want to bore you. But I've highlighted just a few of the books I've read. So without further ado, let's go through them. I don't have the copy of this first one. It's Winter Solstice by Rosamunde Pilcher. Rosamunde Pilcher was a prolific British author. She died in 2019, and her last book was Winter Solstice. And she wrote like over 50 romance, family kind of stories. And her most famous one was The Shell Seekers. I want to say that came out, I didn't research it, but maybe the 80s? I'm not sure, but it was hugely popular. I think a couple of movies have been made of it. Kind of a romantic, romantic remembrance. It's a lovely story. I really enjoyed Winter Solstice, and it's a cozy story. So let me look at my notes because I can't remember all of this without having notes. So the center of the story is this woman, Elfrida. She's a retired actress and a little on the, I guess you would say, eccentric is the term. She decides to move from her London flat and buys a small little cottage in a small English country town where she quickly assimilates into her community. She makes friends easily. People tend to warm to her. She's a very warm and engaging person. So she makes a lot of new friends in this town, and her closest friends, his family, they suffer a terrible tragedy, which results in her accompanying one of the family members to their home another home in Scotland for the winter holidays, basically. she ends up so they get there. She ends up inviting a friend of hers and her friend's niece. So they show up. And a stranger shows up, knocks on the door, is stranded, kind of nowhere to go because of a snowstorm. Of course, they invite him in. And so this merry band of like 5 people, I think it is, hang out together in this ancestral home of the family member that Elfrida is friends with. And it's cozy, it's lovely, the writing's beautiful. Kind of about, the theme of it is about personal tragedies leading to transformation, as they often can, painfully maybe, but certainly this unravels or takes place, these stories take place with the warmth of, people around them that soon become like family. And it's kind of about finding home in the families we choose. So I encourage you to read it. It is a very seasonal read. Obviously, it takes place in December. So it's winter solstice and then the Christmas holiday and New Year's. So yeah, check it out maybe next year. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, let me know if you've read it, what you thought about it. It was, I don't have a copy. I got it out of the library, so I don't own a copy of that book. But I think 2019 she passed, and it was her last book, so maybe 2018, I'm not sure. Another seasonal story. I do have this book. It's Winter by Val McDermid. This, I absolutely love the artwork. This is part of a series that's showcasing the seasons. It's different authors. Look at this artwork. It's just lovely. If you can see that. Love it. Love it. Let's see. What do they say about this in the back? Anyway, let me look at my notes. So Val McDermid she's a Scottish crime novelist. So I'd never read anything by her before. This was recommended by someone I know as I was looking for, they knew I was looking for seasonal reads. I think Miranda Mills maybe mentioned it on her BookTube channel as well. If you haven't checked out Miranda Mills, she is a British booktuber among BookTube. She wrote a book. She's amazing. If you haven't checked it out. Anyway, this is one of the seasonal books. I'm trying to get to the page about these. Sorry. About the illustrator. Where's about the seasonal stuff? Oh my. Prepared as always. Okay. The season series. Nonfiction books written by some of Britain's most celebrated fiction writers. Leave the cold of winter behind and turn the page. Oh, that's a different book. Anyway, going back to Winter. So I had never read anything about her, but this is a memoir. It's delightful. It's about the joys of the winter season in Scotland, from Samhain or Halloween to Burns Night, which is in January, Robert Burns. She shares like all the magical traditions of the seasons that she clearly absolutely adores. And there are illustrations throughout. These end papers are just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, she loves nature. She just describes the Scottish coast and the scenery so beautifully. A beautiful read, another winter possibility maybe for next year. But you can see I bought a copy. So yeah, I'm very happy to have this one because I will return to it again. So Winter, the Story of a Season by Val McDermid. Okay, and I'll put all these books in the comments when the video launches, hopefully on Monday. Well, you'll be seeing it, so there we are. Okay, so the next one, I think that's my last winter-themed book. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Just change the settings. Sorry. Ah! Okay. Back to where I was. Yikes. Okay. This is Wintering, the Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times by Katherine May. Now, this book, many people have recommended this book. It's got a blurb on the back by Elizabeth Gilbert from Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know this author's name, but many people have mentioned this book, booktubers. And so it's been on my list. I've had it. I've owned this copy. I think I bought it maybe last January when I saw it kind of after January, February. I don't know. It was sitting on my shelves for a while, but I wanted to wait till the winter to read it. So Katherine May is another British author. She writes novels, memoirs, and she's also a journalist. So the writing is beautiful. So there's that. So what is this about? It's her story, her own memoir. She leaves a job, a very demanding job, in order to recover from an unexpected illness. So also, I think starts at the Halloween festivities and goes through to post New Year's. And self-care, it's in support of self-care, retreat, and resilience in the face of adversity, really. The cold, the dark, nature, quiet, are the tools that support her to what is going to come next in her life. She's trying to find her footing, or after recovering from this illness, after leaving the job that she's had, what does her life look like? And how is she going to live in it in a new way? And I wanted to love this book. I really did, but I really didn't. I didn't hate it. It's not that. And I hate talking about books I don't love. I think it was more of a personal thing, my personality being very, very different from the author's. I think some of it was just unrelatable to me. The approach, the way, fascinating, the things she does to help heal herself. And much of it I couldn't relate to. She's also a mom, and I'm not a mom. But it's not that. It's just, I think, just a personality thing where my personality is just very different. And I couldn't relate to some of it, but it is very interesting. Like I said, the writing is wonderful. And I might be the only person who doesn't love this book. I'm not sure. But if you're curious, since I'm probably, in the minority, this is Wintering, the Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times, Katherine May. What I do love about it is it reinforces the need for quiet and space in our lives, and, changing things in a way that takes the noise out so we can heal. We can, uncover what we really want, whether it's work, our love lives, our home life, our homes themselves. So I love that. I love any book that explores those ideas. So, Wintering by Katherine May. Anyway, thank you for listening. If you're still with me, moving onward. The next one I read, I don't have that book either. That was a library book. It's The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. This is the same author who wrote, I do have it, The Lost Apothecary, which I talked about in another video, and I did love this book. This one, she wrote this Lost Apothecary in 2021, so The Amalfi Curse came after that. I didn't write that down. Okay. Anyway, recently. So like The Lost Apothecary, it's told in parallel narratives, one in the past, one in the present. So following the footsteps of her father, Haven is a nautical archaeologist. I never put those two words together before, so that is very interesting to me. And she has obtained a grant to research the abundant wreckage off the Amalfi coast. Sounds fascinating to me. I am enchanted by archaeology in general, so I really was interested in this story. The other story that's taking place and is being told, Mari in 1821, she's a sea witch. So there is some magical stuff going on in this one. Who with her community at this time, so their powers are limited to manipulating the sea, the currents of the sea. So they do this, she and her tribe, so to speak. They protect their town from pirates who wreak havoc up and down the coast. But I think it's Positano that they've protected, hence all the wreckage kind of around that Haven is investigating in the present. So interesting. The sea witch thing, yeah, it's interesting that they only could manipulate the currents of the sea. That's an interesting thing, which is, I don't know. I think I'm no expert, and I'm certainly not a witch, but not that I know of. But yeah, the limited powers, like very specific. So that was interesting, different for sure. So it's historical fiction meets magical realism, and there's romance. I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as The Lost Apothecary. I think the pacing was off for me. Like The Lost Apothecary was a page turner for me. Like and that one had no magical. It's not, the magical part isn't really why I didn't love it as much. I'm open to magical realism and, whatever. And I thought the archaeology would be more interesting. But it wasn't. I don't know why. Well, it was, I guess the story wasn't about so much the ship when they went down. Now there is research that leads, you do go on you do go with Haven on this exploration of something that her father had first investigated, and she's following in his foot. She's trying to follow him. And I would have liked to know more about the father, he's always present sort of, but we never really know a whole lot about his story. We know he discovered something, and he has a longtime friend who knows about the discovery, but then he leaves it or passes away shortly after that. And so part of the reason Haven is there is to follow through on what her father was working on. It's a good read. It's not my favorite read. So The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. She does write very well. The writing's good. Again, I think the pacing, I just maybe wasn't as interested in the sea witch thing. I don't know. It's hard to say. But anyway, that's what I read next. Well, maybe not next, but I'm taking a sample of some of the books I've read. Here's one. Okay, going on to something I absolutely loved. So I don't have that book. Click with the little picture. This is called, the title is The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mikki Brammer. And this was published in 2023. Excuse me, sip of water. And now I'm drooling. Okay. This was a debut novel, and it's definitely one of my favorites of 2026. I chose it. I was looking for, it was a read-alike for a book, an all-time favorite. It's titled Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. If you haven't read it, I'll talk about it another time probably. Just adore it. Anyway, this story is about Claire. She lives in New York City in a rent-controlled apartment that was left to her by her beloved grandfather. He's the person who raised her. And her occupation, which I never knew of before, she's a death doula. A what? A death doula. Yeah. She's someone who she assists the dying with their transition. And some of the stories, they're like sad, they're people all alone. Some of them, it's just, she helps them peacefully transition. That's her goal. That's what she does, which is a pretty noble profession when you think about it. I had my parents with me when they passed, side note, personal note, and yeah, I can see how having someone like that nearby would be so helpful. Anyway, so she is assisting and really helping people, and probably, and family. Her focus is on the person dying. The families turn to her, or whether or not they have family or friends or not, are tangentially, are helped hopefully by her service as well. Anyway, she, while it's a noble occupation, her own life is pretty sad. It's very small. She has no friends other than a very charismatic elderly gentleman who lives in the same building, and she's known him since she moved into the building to live with her grandfather. But yeah, she has no social life other than she plays, I think, chess with this lovely man in her building once a week. But one of the things she does in her job is she keeps, and I know this kind of sounds depressing, but we just don't talk about death in our culture. It's almost a taboo subject. So like wintering, addressing the power of rest, very differently. But I think a book that explores the concept of transitioning, it's important in our culture. So, and this is written beautifully. One thing she does is she keeps these journals of regrets and advice from her patients over the years. And now and then she challenges, this is interesting, that she challenges herself. She'll open one of these books and take one of the pieces of advice or a regret, and she'll do something to address that advice or regret. So she goes through these journals and tries to do what they advised her to do, or do something that someone regretted not doing. And some of them are very simple, small acts. Others are a little more challenging, like ice skating at Rockefeller Center or something like that. But her life isn't changing. Like, she's done this now for several years, and this is what her life is. She goes and helps someone, they die. She kind of takes a little time to heal, for the emotion to process the emotion of that passing. But she stays isolated in her apartment. She watches rom-coms over and over again. And yeah, it's a very small life. But what starts to change her life, someone moves into her building that's kind of very friendly and not pushy at all, but just a very outgoing, engaging person, invites her out, and Claire just struggles with social interactions. So she's, this person is pecking a little at Claire's resolve. But also she looks through her journals. There's a feisty old woman's wishes that send her on a cross-country road trip to uncover a forgotten love story. So, right, better than any rom-com she's watched. So it's the beginning of Claire changing her life. And it kind of leads her to hope. And again, this kind of theme of rest and retreat to kind of discover what you desire. She, in the pursuit of this woman's, love story, she starts to discover what she loves again, and what are her hopes and desires. And maybe she probably has regrets. She does have regrets. That it starts to this journey anyway, it's kind of a corny metaphor, but this journey she goes on fills her with hope and change. So this is a book that is about transformation, the power of friendship and community in our lives. And it's just lovely. So it's hopeful. So while it starts off sad, it transitions to hope. So anyway, I highly recommend this book. It's very different. It's, again, we don't have many books that really we have nonfiction books that talk about death and passage and that, but this is a fiction story. I just thought it was wonderful. So enough said. Okay, moving on. I'm still talking and I'm still reading. Okay, the next book on this merry journey of winter reading is, if you haven't read it, most people had, I hadn't, I knew of it, Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. It even has the Oprah's Book Club Award in 2024. It was written in 2021. It was shortlisted for the Booker Prize. And it was also made into a movie starring Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy was in Oppenheimer. So it's historical fiction and mystery. So it's a short read. Again, I absolutely loved this book. And I'm looking at the page count. It is 114 pages. You could read this in a day. It is so good. The prose is spare, but powerful. Wow. What she conveys in a few words is just amazing. And it's I don't want to say simple. It's not the word I want. Common. I don't know. I don't have the right word. Anyway, the story is about, it's 1985, so it's historical fiction. And Bill is a coal merchant in a small Irish town. He's well-respected. He's a very quiet, introspective man who loves his family, works hard to provide for them and for his employees as well. So what's the turning point? Da, 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 da. One day on his coal deliveries, he makes a discovery at the local, he's delivering to a local convent, and he makes a discovery. And it forces him, this discovery, slowly, very slowly, the unfolding of him in this quiet, very sweet, empathetic man, it forces him to confront his past. It has him really, it's in his internal monologue a lot. And he considers the impact to his family and his business and his community relationships if he shares the truth of what he discovered on the day of that coal delivery. So, like I said, the prose is spare. And it's quiet. He's an empathetic, to me, a very endearing character. And I just loved it. I don't want to give too much away, like I said. It's lovely. So if you haven't read it, like I said, it's a short read. Give it a try. Okay. I was just looking through my list. I feel like I've skipped something. Oh, I just also wanted to mention. I love that so much. I read Foster, also by Claire Keegan, but I'll talk about that another time. I don't want this to stretch on till, it's winter again. So, So Late in the Day is a collection of Claire Keegan's short stories. I think it's just 3 stories. I haven't read it yet. I think it might be overdue at the library, but I'll check that out later. Anyway, I look forward to reading this. I do love short stories. I read other books. I did, but in the pursuit of time, keeping this shorter, I feel like I forgot something though. I'm just checking my notes. Maybe not. Okay. I didn't forget. I guess that's it. So those are some of the things I read over the winter months. And now, of course, I'm leaving winter kind of themed stories behind and looking toward spring and not necessarily spring themed books. I tend to wander down the rabbit hole. Something catches my eye. I love it. And then I go onward from there. But one thing, if you didn't know, Ken Burns has a new documentary out about Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau, and I loved Walden. I still have my high school copy. Yes, I'm old and I have my high school copy of Walden. I read it in high school, and this was a game changer for me. I went to Catholic school. Look at that. It's not even falling apart. This has gone on backpacking trips in my youth, but I haven't read it in a long time. So I'm going to be, switching gears to what I will be, some of the things I'm looking at reading. I already mentioned So Late in the Day, but look what I bought. I bought this last fall, I think, at Barnes & Noble. So this is the Illustrated Walden or Life in the Woods. It is gorgeous. I got it at Barnes & Noble on like their $12 table. It is so beautiful. I'm just like, the illustrations are just fabulous. And I couldn't believe it was such a bargain. Probably with the documentary out now, it probably would be, maybe it would be a little more, but oh my gosh. So I'm going to be rereading Walden again. I'll put my old high school copy away, and I can't believe I still have this, but it's hung in there all these years. So that's something I will be reading. Other things, well, I'll talk about it another time. Anyway, I think I'm going to just wrap it up, and I'm so glad to be back. I hope you are all well. If you have read any of the books I mentioned and would like to share your thoughts on them, I would love to read them. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, please let me know in the comments. And I hope it won't be as long to the next video. I can't promise. Like I said, I don't ever want to do this and be like rush, and trying to fit it in. I want to have space to just enjoy the process and do it at a leisurely time. And I'll try to carve out that time more in the future. Some of the lessons from the winter stuff, right? Anyway, if you are so inclined, if you'd like to subscribe, that would be lovely. And I will see you again soon. In the meantime, please be well, and we'll talk later. Bye now.